What this experience changed forever. When filming began, Jaafar Jackson accepted the role of a lifetime. But according to the transcript, by the time production neared its conclusion, he walked away with something far greater than another acting credit. The experience had changed the way he viewed performance, discipline, and even himself. Months of preparation had demanded complete physical commitment, emotional resilience, and an unwavering dedication to portraying Michael Jackson with honesty. The source explains that the journey wasn't simply about completing a film. It became a personal education in the level of sacrifice required to achieve true artistic excellence. According to the transcript, one of the biggest lessons Jaafar gained was a deeper appreciation for Michael Jackson's relentless pursuit of perfection. Throughout rehearsals and filming, he experienced firsthand the countless hours of preparation hidden behind performances that audiences often assumed looked effortless. The source explains that every dance rehearsal, every coaching session, and every repeated take reinforced the understanding that greatness is rarely the product of natural talent alone. Instead, it is built through patience, repetition, discipline, and a willingness to keep improving long after others would have stopped. The transcript suggests that these lessons extended beyond the movie itself, influencing the way Jaafar now approaches his own work as an actor and performer. Looking back, the transcript presents this transformation as one of the film's most meaningful outcomes. According to the source, portraying Michael Jackson gave Jaafar an entirely new understanding of the responsibility carried by artists whose work inspires millions of people. It also reminded him that preserving a legacy requires more than physical resemblance or technical skill. It requires respect, humility, and a genuine commitment to understanding the person behind the public image. By the end of production, the role had become more than a professional achievement. It had become an experience that reshaped his perspective on dedication, creativity, and family. As the documentary reaches its final chapter, one question remains. After carrying the weight of one of the greatest names in entertainment throughout this extraordinary journey, what legacy does Jaafar Jackson now hope to leave behind as he begins the next chapter of his own career? The legacy Jaafar now carries into the future. When the cameras finally stopped rolling, the journey was far from over. According to the transcript, Michael was never intended to be remembered simply as another Hollywood biographical film. For Jaafar Jackson, it became the experience that would shape the beginning of his own career, while honoring the legacy of one of music's greatest performers. The months of preparation, the physical demands of rehearsals, the emotional responsibility of portraying his own uncle, and the constant pressure of worldwide expectations all became part of a journey that extended far beyond the movie set. The source explains that the role left Jaafar with something far more valuable than screen experience. It gave him a deeper understanding of the dedication, humility, and discipline that defined Michael Jackson's life. According to the transcript, that understanding is the legacy Jaafar now carries into the future. Rather than viewing the film as the conclusion of an extraordinary challenge, he sees it as the foundation for everything that comes next. The source explains that portraying Michael taught him lessons that cannot be learned inside an acting classroom. It revealed the importance of relentless preparation, respect for the craft, and the willingness to pursue excellence even when the work becomes physically and emotionally demanding. Those experiences, the transcript suggests, will continue influencing the choices he makes long after this production has ended. While audiences may remember the costumes, the performances, and the iconic musical recreations, Jaafar will remember the discipline required to bring them to life. Looking back, the transcript concludes that this film represents more than the story of one legendary entertainer. It also marks the beginning of another artist's journey. According to the source, Jaafar never set out to replace Michael Jackson or recreate a legend perfectly. His goal was to honor his uncle with sincerity, commitment, and respect, while introducing a new generation to the life behind the music. Whether audiences ultimately judge the performance as a success will always be a matter of personal opinion. But the transcript makes one point unmistakably clear. No one outside the production can fully understand the extraordinary dedication required to carry Michael Jackson's legacy onto the screen. That responsibility changed Jaafar Jackson forever, and it is a legacy he will continue carrying long after the final scene fades to black. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this documentary, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications for more in-depth documentaries exploring the stories behind the world's greatest music legends and the films that bring them to life. Until next time, thank you for watching. The pressure of meeting fans' impossible expectations. Long before Michael reached theaters, millions of people had already formed an opinion about it. According to the transcript, Jaafar Jackson understood that every photograph, every trailer, and every short preview would be examined frame by fans who had spent decades watching Michael Jackson perform. Unlike most biographical films, this production wasn't introducing audiences to an unfamiliar historical figure. It was asking them to revisit someone whose voice, movements, and stage presence remained deeply embedded in popular culture. The source explains that this created an extraordinary level of pressure because audiences weren't simply hoping for a convincing performance. They expected to feel that Michael's spirit had been respectfully honored on screen. According to the transcript, Jaafar never viewed those expectations as something to fear. Instead, he treated them as a reminder of the responsibility that came with portraying one of the world's most celebrated entertainers. The source explains that he understood fans weren't searching for a perfect imitation. They wanted honesty, dedication, and a performance that respected Michael's legacy. That understanding shaped the way Jaafar approached every rehearsal and every day of filming. Rather than trying to satisfy every opinion circulating online, he focused on remaining faithful to the preparation he'd completed and to the creative vision shared by the filmmakers. The transcript suggests that this mindset allowed him to concentrate on authenticity instead of becoming distracted by public speculation before the film was even released. Looking back, the transcript presents these expectations as one of the invisible challenges behind the production. Every performer hopes audiences will connect with their work, but few actors begin a project knowing that millions of lifelong fans are waiting to compare every detail with unforgettable memories. According to the source, Jaafar accepted that those comparisons could never be avoided. His goal was not to replace Michael Jackson or recreate him perfectly. It was to tell his story with sincerity, discipline, and respect. If audiences could see the commitment behind the performance, then the years of preparation would have served their purpose. As the documentary continues, the commitment finally reaches a turning point, revealing the unforgettable moment when months of rehearsal, study, and sacrifice came together, and Jaafar himself began to feel that he had truly stepped into Michael Jackson's world. The moment Jaafar finally felt like Michael. For months, every rehearsal had been about preparation. Every dance step, every vocal exercise, and every hour of research brought Jaafar Jackson a little closer to understanding the role. But according to the transcript, there came a moment during production when something quietly changed. The performance no longer felt like a series of carefully practiced movements. Instead, the months of discipline began coming together naturally. The source explains that this wasn't the result of a single dance move or one perfect take. It was the point where the countless hours of preparation stopped feeling mechanical and began flowing instinctively in front of the camera. According to the transcript, that transformation happened gradually rather than all at once. As filming continued, Jaafar reportedly became less focused on remembering choreography or recreating specific gestures, and more focused on living each scene as the character. The source explains that the long months spent studying Michael's performances, personality interviews, and creative process had started to shape the way he approached every moment on set. Instead of asking himself how Michael would move, he had begun understanding why Michael moved that way. That deeper understanding allowed his performance to become more natural, giving him the confidence to stop thinking about individual details and fully commit to the emotional reality of each scene. The transcript suggests that this was one of the most important turning points of the entire production, because authenticity had finally begun replacing imitation. Looking back, the transcript presents this moment as the reward for months of relentless dedication. Every demanding rehearsal, every coaching session, and every difficult day had contributed to a performance that now felt genuine instead of rehearsed. According to the source, Jaafar realized he wasn't trying to become Michael Jackson in the literal sense. Rather, he had reached a place where he could respectfully portray Michael's story with honesty, confidence, and emotional understanding. It was a quiet breakthrough that happened away from headlines and publicity, but it became one of the most meaningful milestones of the entire journey. As the documentary continues, we enter the final chapter of Jaafar's transformation, exploring how this extraordinary experience changed him not only as an actor, but as a person, and why he believes he will carry its lessons for the rest of his life. The physical pain behind every performance. When audiences watch Michael Jackson perform, they often remember the effortless precision, the smooth turns, the flawless timing, and the energy that seemed to last forever. But according to the transcript, recreating that level of performance demanded an extraordinary physical commitment from Jaafar Jackson. As rehearsals became more intense, the role evolved from an acting challenge into an endurance test. The source explains that every routine was repeated countless times, not because the choreography was incomplete, but because every movement had to match the standard that Michael had set throughout his career. There was little room for compromise, when millions of viewers already knew those performances by heart. According to the transcript, the demanding rehearsal schedule pushed Jaafar to his physical limits. Under the guidance of the film's choreographers, he spent long hours refining every sequence, repeating complex routines until they felt completely natural. The source describes how this relentless preparation took a visible toll on his body. During the most demanding rehearsals, his feet reportedly began bleeding, a consequence of continuously practicing the same movements day after day. Yet, rather than slowing the pace, Jaafar continued working through the discomfort because he understood that authenticity required the same discipline that had defined Michael Jackson's own career. The transcript presents these moments not as isolated incidents, but as evidence of the extraordinary commitment expected throughout the production. Looking back, the transcript suggests that these physically exhausting rehearsals revealed something much deeper than technical preparation. They offered Jaafar a first-hand understanding of the relentless dedication hidden behind Michael Jackson's seemingly effortless performances. Every rehearsal became another reminder that greatness was built through persistence, repetition, and a willingness to keep improving even when the work became painful. According to the source, that experience changed the way Jaafar viewed both the role and the artist he was portraying. By the time filming reached its most iconic musical sequences, the physical struggle had become part of the journey itself, helping transform months of practice into performances shaped by genuine respect for Michael's legacy. As the documentary continues, however, the greatest challenge shifts from physical exhaustion to emotional responsibility, revealing how portraying his own uncle became one of the most personal experiences of Jaafar Jackson's life. The emotional weight of playing his own uncle. Learning Michael Jackson's choreography was difficult. Mastering his voice demanded months of practice, but according to the transcript, neither of those challenges compared with the emotional responsibility of portraying someone who wasn't just a global icon, but a member of Jaafar Jackson's own family. Every morning he arrived on set, he wasn't stepping into the life of a stranger. He was revisiting the story of his uncle, a man whose music, achievements, and personal journey had shaped both his family and millions of people around the world. The source explains that this emotional connection made every scene feel deeply personal in a way that few actors ever experience. According to the transcript, Jaafar approached that responsibility with remarkable care. Rather than trying to imitate Michael's public image alone, he focused on understanding the person behind it. The source explains that he spent countless hours studying interviews, home videos, rehearsal footage, and personal stories shared by family members. Those moments revealed a side of Michael that audiences rarely saw. A thoughtful, gentle individual whose dedication to his craft matched his quiet personality away from the spotlight. The transcript suggests that discovering these private qualities changed Jaafar's perspective on the role. He no longer viewed the performance as simply recreating famous concerts or iconic dance routines. Instead, he began seeing it as an opportunity to introduce audiences to the human being behind one of history's most celebrated entertainers. The transcript argues that this emotional understanding became one of the performance's greatest strengths. Every rehearsal, every conversation, and every scene carried an added sense of responsibility because Jaafar knew he was helping preserve the memory of someone who meant so much to his family. According to the source, that realization motivated him to work even harder, understanding that authenticity would always matter more than imitation. By the time filming reached its most emotional moments, the role had become far more than an acting assignment. It had become a personal tribute built on respect, discipline, and genuine admiration. As the documentary continues, however, another challenge awaited beyond the cameras. Once filming began, Jaafar faced the impossible expectations of millions of Michael Jackson fans around the world, each with their own idea of how the King of Pop should be remembered. Why becoming Michael was more difficult than anyone expected. From a distance, many people assumed Jaafar Jackson had an advantage. He shared Michael Jackson's family name, carried a natural resemblance, and had grown up surrounded by stories about one of the greatest entertainers in history. But according to the transcript, the reality was exactly the opposite. Those connections didn't make the role easier, they made it far more demanding. Every movement, every expression, and every performance would be measured against the memory of someone audiences had watched for decades. The source explains that Jaafar quickly realized this wasn't simply an acting job. It was a responsibility that required complete dedication from the very beginning. According to the transcript, the biggest challenge wasn't learning famous choreography or memorizing dialogue. It was understanding who Michael Jackson really was beyond the stage. The source explains that Jaafar spent countless hours studying interviews, concert footage, rehearsals, and personal moments to understand Michael's personality, work ethic, and creative process. Rather than copying gestures mechanically, he wanted every movement to have the same purpose and emotion behind it. The transcript notes that Michael's greatness came from extraordinary discipline and relentless attention to detail, qualities that couldn't simply be imitated overnight. To portray him convincingly, Jaafar had to embrace that same mindset, approaching every rehearsal with patience and an unwavering commitment to improvement. The transcript suggests that this realization changed the entire experience of making the film. As preparation continued, Jaafar reportedly understood that portraying Michael wasn't about becoming a perfect lookalike. It was about respecting the years of sacrifice, creativity, and perfectionism that had shaped Michael's career. Every rehearsal became another lesson in understanding the artist behind the legend, while every challenge reinforced how extraordinary Michael's achievements truly were. According to the source, what initially appeared to be an impossible role gradually became a journey of discovery, revealing just how much dedication was required to reach even a fraction of Michael Jackson's standard of excellence. As the documentary continues, we step inside the months of preparation that happened before a single scene was filmed, uncovering the intense training that transformed Jaafar from an actor into someone capable of carrying one of the most iconic performances in modern cinema. Months of training before a single scene was filmed. Long before the cameras began recording, the real work had already started. According to the transcript, Jaafar Jackson didn't step directly onto a movie set after accepting the role. Instead, he entered a period of preparation that lasted for months, designed to transform every aspect of his performance before filming even began. The source explains that the production understood audiences would immediately recognize anything that felt unnatural. Michael Jackson's movements, posture, expressions, and stage presence had been watched by billions of people for decades. Because of that, there could be no shortcuts. Every detail had to be carefully developed before the first scene was ever filmed. According to the transcript, Jaafar's training extended far beyond dance rehearsals. His preparation reportedly became a daily routine built around studying Michael's life from every possible angle. The source describes hours spent analyzing concert footage, rehearsals, interviews, and behind-the-scenes recordings to understand not only what Michael did, but why he did it. Every rehearsal focused on the smallest details, how he entered a room, how he carried himself between performances, the rhythm of his movements, and the quiet confidence that audiences often sensed without consciously noticing. The transcript emphasizes that these sessions weren't about creating an imitation. Instead, they were intended to help Jaafar understand the habits, discipline, and artistic mindset that shaped Michael's performances throughout his career. The transcript suggests that this extended preparation became the foundation for everything audiences would eventually see on screen. By investing months before principal photography even began, the filmmakers hoped the performance would feel natural rather than rehearsed. According to the source, every hour spent training allowed Jaafar to gradually stop thinking about individual movements and begin performing them instinctively. It was only after this lengthy process that filming could truly begin with confidence. Looking back, the transcript presents these months as proof that portraying Michael Jackson required far more than talent alone. It demanded patience, relentless repetition, and complete dedication long before the first camera ever rolled. As the documentary continues, the physical demands of that preparation reach an entirely new level, revealing how the pursuit of authenticity pushed Jaafar beyond exhaustion and into one of the most difficult periods of the entire production. The role that changed Jaafar Jackson's life. Some acting roles define a career. Others become a personal journey that changes the actor forever. According to the transcript, portraying Michael Jackson was never just another opportunity for Jaafar Jackson. From the moment he accepted the role, he understood he was stepping into the shoes of one of the most recognizable entertainers in history, and one who also happened to be his own uncle. The source explains that this unique family connection added an entirely different level of responsibility. Jaafar wasn't simply playing a famous musician, he was helping tell the story of someone he had admired throughout his life. That reality transformed the project into something far more personal than an ordinary Hollywood production. According to the transcript, Jaafar never underestimated the scale of the challenge. Millions of people around the world knew Michael Jackson's voice, movements, mannerisms, and performances by heart. Every dance step, every gesture, and every expression would inevitably be compared with decades of unforgettable memories. The source explains that Jaafar recognized early on that no amount of family resemblance alone could earn the audience's trust. He would have to dedicate himself completely to understanding Michael's discipline, work ethic, and personality. Rather than relying on his last name, the transcript describes how he approached the role through months of preparation, determined to earn the opportunity through commitment and performance instead of expectation. The transcript suggests that this decision became the foundation of everything that followed. What began as an acting role gradually evolved into an immersive experience that reshaped Jaafar's daily life. Rehearsals became longer, research became deeper, and every stage of preparation demanded extraordinary patience and discipline. According to the source, the production wasn't asking him to imitate Michael Jackson, it was asking him to understand the person behind one of the greatest careers in entertainment history. That distinction changed the way Jaafar approached every rehearsal, every scene, and every performance throughout the film. As the documentary continues, we discover why this responsibility became even greater than anyone outside the production realized, revealing the enormous pressure of carrying one of the most famous family names in music while trying to build a performance entirely on his own, living under Michael Jackson's shadow. For most actors, portraying a legendary figure is already an enormous responsibility. But according to the transcript, Jaafar Jackson carried an additional burden that few performers ever experience. He wasn't only stepping into the role of one of the world's greatest entertainers, he was portraying a man who had been part of his own family. The source explains that this connection created expectations unlike any ordinary biopic. Long before audiences watched a single scene, many people questioned whether anyone, even Michael's own nephew, could truly capture the presence of the King of Pop. That pressure existed from the very beginning and remained with Jaafar throughout the production. According to the transcript, Jaafar understood that carrying the Jackson name alone would never be enough. The source explains that he wanted audiences to judge his performance based on dedication rather than family ties. Instead of relying on his resemblance to Michael, he immersed himself in months of preparation, studying performances, rehearsing choreography, and learning the discipline that had defined his uncle's career. The transcript emphasizes that this approach required him to separate two different identities. Off camera, he remained Michael's nephew. But once rehearsals began, he had to earn the role like any other actor, proving through hard work that he could carry the emotional and artistic weight of the story. Every rehearsal became another opportunity to move beyond expectations and build trust through performance rather than reputation. The transcript suggests that living under Michael Jackson's legacy became one of the film's greatest emotional challenges. Every comparison was unavoidable because audiences had spent decades watching Michael perform at the highest level. Rather than allowing those comparisons to become a distraction, Jaafar reportedly used them as motivation to prepare even harder. According to the source, he gradually realized that the goal was never to become another Michael Jackson. His responsibility was to honor Michael's life honestly while bringing his own dedication and authenticity to the role. It was a difficult balance, but one that shaped every stage of the production. As the documentary continues, we discover why that responsibility became even more demanding once rehearsals truly began, revealing the countless hours of preparation that convinced Jaafar this would become the most difficult role of his entire life.